I'm always talking about the importance of taking really good care of ourselves. And for the most part, I do that. But lately, having been in the process of recovering from surgery and my MS kicking up, and now having to relearn how to walk, I'm finding that my house might not be as safe as I thought it was. Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam. I've been living with MS for over 40 years now. And as you all know, I've been recovering from surgery. And as a result of the surgery and a whole bunch of other stressors that went along with that, my MS decided that it just didn't want me walking. So I have been having to recover from that now. And as I get back to the place where I'm actually able to hobble around the house a little bit with the help of a walker and my husband, I'm finding that, my house doesn't always support what I'm trying to do. Let's put it that way. And I am even more concerned than I usually am about tripping and falling and other hazards. I don't think that I'd be taking really good care of myself if I didn't pay a little more attention to the possible tripping and falling hazards around my house. So I found a good article that I want to share with you that talks about things we can be doing to make our homes a little more amenable to our welfare. I saw this article in Multiple Sclerosis News today. It was published on February 17th of 2025, although I did not see it until fairly recently. If I had seen it in February, I probably wouldn't have considered it very relevant. But given what I've been going through lately, I have definitely been spending more time thinking about the hazards in my home and how to make sure that I do not trip, fall, lean over too far, whatever, because there's a lot of ways you can end up on the floor, and once you're on the floor, that's a whole different set of problems to navigate. So this article is called Fall Proof Your Home: Tips for Creating an MS Safe Space. And I like how they've got the contents right here so you can see if there's something that's of interest to you. They're even hyperlinked so you could click right down to the part that you're interested in. They are going to talk about how adaptations can help, doorways and stairs, bathrooms, kitchen upgrades, bedrooms and living areas, assistive technology, and maintaining a safe home. So we'll go ahead and take a look. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip all of the introductory stuff. Although I've linked the article, you can certainly read it, but it's mostly basic information about what MS is and the specific challenges of MS, living with MS. You might want to look at that, but we'll skip it for now. We'll just skip right down to how MS-specific adaptations can help. MS home adaptations that reduce the risk of falling can help you maintain independence and safety, whether you've been recently diagnosed with MS or your symptoms have worsened. When you're first diagnosed with MS, risk management for falls might start with identifying hazards or potential obstacles in your home, such as loose rugs, crowded pathways, and poorly lit areas. At some point, you might want to work with an occupational therapist to evaluate how you use your living space and offer suggestions for MS-friendly home improvements that make your environment safer. And as a comment on that, I will say I have a friend who actually did all the coursework for occupational therapy, and she's lived with MS for a very long time, and it's becoming quite advanced. She has a friend who is an occupational therapist, and even though she already knows this stuff, having someone else come in and look at her living space with a fresh eye, with an outside point of view, ended up being really helpful for her. So you might consider that. As they go on to say, an occupational therapist can also show you how to get up after a fall to prevent causing injury or pain. They can teach you proper body positioning and techniques for pushing or pulling yourself upright. As MS progresses and symptoms such as muscle weakness, spasticity, foot drop, fatigue, dizziness, and vision problems worsen, your risk of falling may increase. To help you continue to navigate your space safely in the future, especially if you need adaptive equipment for MS, you might want to make other changes to your home, such as widening doorways, upgrading the bathroom, and installing assistive technology. And I'm going to make a point at this point. I think it would apply to many of the things we're going to talk about, especially as your MS progresses over time. In the earlier stages, you were able to do certain things in a certain way, and those became very convenient for you, very automatic. I will say that was certainly true for me. The kitchen is a good example. I had things put where they were convenient for me at a certain time. Well, as time goes on and your limitations maybe increase or your energy level changes, it's oftentimes good to revisit those things. Perhaps they were convenient at one time, they're not that convenient for you anymore, or they increase your risk of overbalancing or wearing yourself out. Whatever might be, you need to think about that because you want to make sure that you're taking good care of yourself, right? We always talk about that. And part of taking good care of yourself is making sure that your house is set up as best as it can be to accommodate you and what you need. Now we'll go on to talk about doorways and stairs. Very, very hazardous, stairs in particular. Check your home for potential hazards such as narrow doorways, poorly lit areas, uneven steps, and broken handrails. All should be addressed to reduce the risk of falling. To further increase safety, consider the following upgrades, and they've given us a nice list here. Installing ramps is the first one, and I'll show you a picture of the temporary ramp that my friends put in for me so that I could get up and down the stairs with a wheelchair when the time comes, because I am not going to be doing any walking around, I don't think, for quite a while. Even though I can do some walking in the house, it's just not safe to be going out into the public in anything but a wheelchair for now. So I didn't want the ramp to be permanent. Maybe I'm an optimist. They installed a very nice temporary ramp, and I would say that's definitely an option if you want to look at that. Also, adding handrails by stairs or checking their stability. I, for a long time, would never want to go up and down a flight of stairs unless there was a handrail there. I highly recommend that you get a handrail installed on your stairs, even if it's only one or two stairs, like if you have a sunken living room or something. Getting a little handrail by the wall, believe me, it can come in handy, very handy, no pun intended. Replacing or repairing uneven steps. That is, again, something that in your more mobile days, you probably just got used to navigating. But as you progress, don't just assume you're going to be able to keep navigating those uneven steps like you used to do. Adding lights to stairs and by doorways. Oh, I totally agree with that. I need lights everywhere. Installing a chairlift could be another one, especially if you live in a house where your bedroom is upstairs and your living area is downstairs. If you can't move to a single floor and have everything on one floor, maybe a chairlift would be the right thing for you. Widening doorways to accommodate a wheelchair. My husband and I have talked about that because our house was built in 1948, and believe me, they did not have doorways that accommodate wheelchairs. It's barely wide enough for the walker. So if I do end up having to use a wheelchair in the house, we're going to have to think about that. And then finally, using non-slip stair treads. I'm all about that. Non-slip stair treads, plus be really careful of the throw rugs and even the big rugs that you have around your house, because you could catch your toe on those so easily, and that is a major falling hazard. And next they're going to talk about bathrooms. Balance issues can make the bathroom harder to navigate with its limited space, sometimes slippery floors, and fixtures of varying heights, such as toilets and sinks. I'll also make the point that the bathroom is full of surfaces that are completely unforgiving if you were to fall against them, and I speak from experience on that one. And then they are going to give us a list of the ways we can make our bathrooms safer by adding grab bars near the toilet, shower, or bathtub. Now I have some for our tub shower, but I sure wish I had one by the toilet because it's hard for me to get up from the toilet, and it would be nice if I had a grab bar there. We're not ready to install one yet because I'm really hoping it's not going to be necessary much longer. But if this goes on, or if I see that it's going to come back, or if I have any continuing problems with getting up from the toilet, I am definitely going to have my husband install a grab bar by the toilet. Raised toilet seat, tall toilet, or smart toilet with features such as motion sensors, automatic flush, and other touch-free features. Now, I do have a taller than normal toilet, but it probably could be even taller because I'm pretty tall, I've got long legs, and like I said earlier, it's just difficult for me because I find that the first inch or two of rising, whether it's from the wheelchair, whether it's the walker, the floor, that's the hardest part. Once I get my legs more close to straight, I can do pretty well. Touch or motion sensor faucets is also a neat idea. Non-slip flooring in the bathroom and shower. Well, a shower mat, for one thing, is a must. And other options for non-slip flooring, as long as, again, you don't catch your toe on it, is possibly a good thing to do. Walk-in or roll-in shower. Oh, wouldn't I love to have one of those? But unfortunately, we have only one bathroom, and I've been told that it really affects the resale value if you take the tub out. So unfortunately, at least for now, we're going to leave the regular tub shower arrangement, and I will only dream of having a walk-in shower. Non-slip rugs and shower mats. I'm glad they mentioned that because I've been hammering on about that, haven't I? And then motion sensing lights. Very good idea. I have one in my study, but I don't have one elsewhere, and that might be something to think about. And then they talk about kitchen upgrades, and the kitchen is the area I was thinking about when I said earlier that we get used to doing things in a convenient way and we get everything arranged the way we think is good for us, and it is at that time. But as we lose mobility or as our energy level decreases, what we lived with before that was perfectly fine might no longer be perfectly fine. We need to take another look at that. And as they say here, reaching for items on tall shelves in the kitchen or bending over to pick up a dropped item from the floor can increase your chance of falling, as can uneven flooring and wet surfaces. And definitely the kitchen is full of opportunities for that. So they're going to give us some possible changes that we might make to make our kitchen safer. And first, they mention some easy changes to make, which would include placing frequently used items within easy reach, using a grabber tool for out-of-reach items. I don't know. I've looked at those. I've wondered if they would be helpful for me. I'm not sure. They seem kind of awkward. If any of you have had experience with a grabber tool, I'd love to know. And then placing non-slip mats or rugs near the sink and stove, if that's helpful for you. If it's just a tripping hazard, forget it. And then they've got additional modifications to consider, and these are not quite as easy. Lowering counters and cupboards to an accessible height. Well, that would definitely run into some money, wouldn't it, to get that done? Installing pull-out shelves and lazy Susans to make items easier to reach. Now, we did install a pull-out shelf for the shelf where we keep all our pots and pans. We did that quite a while ago, just so it was easier to reach in there and get the item that I wanted. But I think that it is not that difficult to do because you can install something that you can buy online, or I don't know where else you might get one, but they're just inserts that allow you to pull out the items instead of having to reach deep into the cabinet for them. And then installing under cabinet lighting to brighten dark spaces. Well, we did that long ago. And installing lever handle touch or motion control faucets. Again, that's a good idea. I haven't thought too much about that, but that might be useful. The next section is bedrooms and living areas. Maneuvering in and out of bed can become challenging, especially in the middle of the night. I have thought about that, how that's going to work for us, and I have not ventured to do that yet, but I think that the time is coming. So that is definitely something that's been on my mind. And here are some bedroom adaptations that they suggest. An adjustable bed that lets you change the height for easier transfers to a wheelchair or a walker. Yeah, our bed is a little higher than normal, and I have to say, even just getting myself back into bed again when we're transferring has become, let's put it this way, I'm not at my most graceful. Bed rails for stability when getting in and out of bed, especially if you have weakness or spasticity. Night lights or motion-activated lights to improve visibility at night. Yes, I've relied on those for many years. And non-slip rugs or securing carpets to prevent slipping. They say that if you rely on canes, a rollator, or a wheelchair, try to keep it within easy reach of your bed, but where it won't be a tripping hazard in the dark, or a tripping hazard for your spouse, as we also have to think about. Also try to clear all pathways of tripping hazards such as furniture, cords, shoes, and loose rugs. I'm glad that they're spending a lot of time on tripping hazards because that's the big one for me. Areas such as the living room, dining room, home office, and laundry room may also benefit from making safety changes. And I like this list. It's short, but I think it's a good checklist to use. Create clear pathways. Rearrange furniture if needed. Check chairs and tables for stability. Install shelves at an accessible height. And place cords and cables out of the way or tape them to the wall. And now they're going to talk about assistive technology. Assistive technology for MS can help make managing your MS at home easier and less stressful. Monitoring devices, for example, can provide peace of mind by sending an alert if you fall or need assistance. Knowing help is readily available can alleviate feelings of anxiety, especially if you have fallen in the past. It's not always convenient, but if possible, keep your cell phone with you all the time and make sure that someone like your spouse or a neighbor or somebody is there so that you can call them and they can help if necessary. Smart home features such as voice-activated controls and automated lighting can minimize situations that might lead to a fall, like reaching for a switch or walking in a dark room. And here are some of the suggestions that they have. Voice-activated smart home devices for adjusting lights, temperature, and monitoring security. Voice-activated devices that reduce the need for sudden movements, such as rushing to answer a phone. Yeah, well, I think those of us who've lived with MS for any length of time know that you don't do anything in a hurry. Virtual assistants that send you a reminder to take your MS medications, exercise, and eat. Smart walkers or canes that monitor your gait and alert you or a caregiver when you are off balance. That's interesting. I've never heard of such a thing, but that might be interesting. Pressure-sensitive mats near your bed that can let a caregiver know when you are trying to stand. Wearable fall detectors like smartwatches to alert others and summon help if needed. Smart watches to monitor your heart rate, oxygen levels, and other vital signs, alerting you to changes that might increase your risk of dizziness or falls. I know some folks, when they stand up too quickly, even those who don't have MS, they suffer from a dizziness that sometimes is even so bad that they almost faint. If we're prone to that, we need to be especially careful when we change positions from sitting to standing or lying down to sitting even. And then they have a section on maintaining a safe home. To help prevent falls in the future, monitor how your MS symptoms change over time so you can adapt your home to meet your evolving needs. Always let your MS healthcare providers know about any specific challenges you are having, such as balance issues or muscle weakness. They may recommend trying or changing mobility aids, using other adaptive equipment, or installing new technologies. Also, make your family and caregivers aware of your concerns about falling so they can put your mind at ease by supporting you in finding the right solution. Involve them in home risk assessments and be sure they know how to use and maintain any adaptive equipment for MS you rely on. Planning ahead can also help with stress management and making your living spaces more accessible before you need them to be. Eventually, you may want to consider a single-level ranch-style home or an apartment. And I am very thankful that we did do that. We moved to a single-story home a long time ago where the bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen, everything's all on one floor. Once I'm in the house, I don't have to worry about stairs. I have really appreciated that, especially the last few months. And then finally, other resources for getting advice on avoiding falls and injury in your home may be found in MS support groups and forums at Multiple Sclerosis News Today. And there's a link there, so you can certainly get to that if you'd like more information. There's a woman named Vicky who has a podcast about MS. It's called Even So It Is Well, and if you don't follow her, you might want to. From a video she posted several years ago, she talked about an incident that she had with falling, and she made some good points, some really good reminders that I think we can all benefit from.
Hello, my friends. Quick update today. For the most part, I live really well with my MS. But it's not always peaches and cream and easy. Yesterday, I had what I call an MS moment. I woke up in the morning and my leg was spastic and tight, and I ignored it. I had things to do, and I went about my day, and I was walking from my family room into the kitchen, and I was moving. I was going pretty fast, and my brain told my leg to lift up and clear the step, but it didn't quite make it. And I caught my toe on the step and I went down. I went down hard and found myself on my hands and knees on the kitchen floor and in pain. And I called out to my husband and he came and he made sure I was okay and he got me an ice pack. I hit my left knee pretty hard. And I sat there and gathered my thoughts, and my plans for the day went out the window because my leg was hurting now. When these things happen, I find they're learning opportunities. In hindsight, living with MS always gives us opportunities to learn. So I learned 3 things from my fall yesterday. 1, I'm going to have times when I stumble and fall, whether it's physically, emotionally, intellectually. There are going to be MS moments, but I can pick myself up, dust myself off, and move on. My knee is much better today, and I'm moving on with my list of things to do. Number 2, it's okay to ask for help. I was shaken up, I was on the floor, I was in pain, and I needed my husband. I needed help. It's okay to ask for help. And number 3, I need to learn to listen to my body. It was giving me clear indications that things were not right. And in hindsight, I should have taken a muscle relaxer, and I should have probably done some stretching, and I definitely should have been more mindful of how my body was moving in space yesterday. So, opportunities to learn.
Okay, well, having said all that, I don't think I need to harp on this anymore, or I'm going to sound like your mother. So that is all I have for you today. And in the meantime, until I see you again in my next video, do take really good care of yourself.